13 Love, I'm Shanur. I cover my head and dress modestly for spiritual reasons. I am also the owner of Ancestral Sister 913, where I do sell white head covers and shawls to help the righteous set themselves apart. And today I want to talk about head covering as a form of spiritual insurance. Amen. So let's rap about it, right? So we definitely kind of get a little scientific-y or anatomy-ish, doctor-ish or what have you in this video, but just ride with a sister, okay? And so I do think the first thing, or I think it's important to go ahead and lay the foundation, of what hair is. Because hair is a big part of this part. So what is hair? So if you look it up, it'll say that hair is a protein filament filled or made of cells filled with keratin. And all that really means is that hair is protein. It's protein. That's cool, right? But it said that hair's purpose is to be a protective layer. Keep that in mind. A protective layer for the body to help regulate the body's temperature. It's also said to protect the scalp from UV rays and environmental debris, right? And all that's cool, right? But if you know, like I know, and if you know, like the righteous know, if you know, like the ancestors knew, hair is deep. Hair is deep. And then somebody might be like, but why though? Like, what's all the rage about the hair and the head covering and all the things, right? Cool. Glad you asked. Okay? Let's rap about it. And so what makes hair so deep? Hair is a part, or it's an extension of our central nervous system. And that's cool and all, but somebody gonna be like, but what's the central nervous system? Cool. Glad you asked. And so the central nervous system is basically comprised of the brain and the spinal cord, and it's known to be our body's primary processing center. Hold on. Okay, it's known to be the body's primary processing center, whereas it is receiving information and directing, let's say, traffic as it pertains to our mobility, our reflexes, and it informs our conscious thought. And so just to kind of round that out, if I kind of butchered the definition there, the central nervous system, it has everything to do with our mobility, our motor skills, reflexes, walking, talking, that kind of thing. But it's also informing our conscious thought. And hair is an extension of this central nervous system, as you kind of picking up where we're gonna go with this thing, right? And so it's like, cool. So what's hair's purpose within the central nervous system? Glad you asked. So the hair's role within the central nervous system, it is to act as, or it is a sensory tool that is picking up and receiving information and signaling to the brain, is communicating with the brain as it pertains to touch. Stick with me. And if you look it up, it'll literally say, as it pertains to touch, even that of the slightest breeze, a gentle breeze. And so what does that mean? The hair is basically a transmitter. It's picking up and receiving information, and it's informing the body about touch, even if it's something as little and simple as the wind blowing, the slightest breeze, a gentle breeze. Specifically, again, it's the hair follicles that communicate with the brain. The brain communicates to the spinal cord, and should our body need to take some kind of motor action to walk away, do a thing, that information goes from the spinal cord to our muscles and glands, and we'll kind of get there, but just wanted to lay that down right there, okay? And so if you're anything like me, cool, hair is a sensory tool. What is sensory? You know what I'm saying? What is sensory? Glad you asked. I'll put the definition on the screen, but I think the most important part about the definition is more specifically that last part where it says sensory is directly related to the central or to the nervous system and how it is gathering and picking up information about the world around us. Sensory is directly correlated to the nervous system and how it is giving us information about the world around us. That is sensory, and hair is a sensory tool. So what does that mean? Hair is gathering and informing us of information about the world around us. Yeah? That makes sense, right? But this is how we know this to be true, right? Even if we didn't know it to be true. We've heard this many a times. I think the more popular story would be, or maybe even infamous story, would be that of the so-called Native Americans. I think it was back in the early 1990s or something like that. The U.S. government, they were specifically scouting the so-called Native American men. And they wanted them supposedly for their great tracking abilities, right? And we all know that the so-called Native Americans, they just have a reputation for being very close to nature. Like they know the land, they knew the land. They could suss their way through or sense their way through the forest and be connected, and they could gather the information about the world around them. These men that typically have the longer hair and all the things, we know this stuff, right? You know? So the government wanted them for such a thing. And so apparently the story is that once they scouted these men, brought them into the military, put them through the training or basic training and the simulations and whatnot, of course, Lil Bigfoot and Lil Feather Dove, they was outshining everybody. They were blowing through all the trainings. They were very great in the forest, in the nighttime simulations and all the things, right? But then if you know, like I know as a so-called veteran, not that they did this to women or not, well, at all, but if you know, like I know, at a certain point in basic training, you're getting your hair cut, okay? They're gonna cut your hair off, man. And so they would do that to these so-called Native Americans. And once they did, Lil Bigfoot, Lil Feather Dove, they were not on their game anymore. They weren't performing the same anymore. And it even said that one of the men directly said or quoted that he could no longer feel the forest. So he wasn't even good in the training like that no more. You know what I'm saying? Which I find that to be a little sad, you know, like, but he said he couldn't feel the forest anymore. So that story, we've heard that story, right? What was my point for sharing that is that just that story alone lets us know that the hair is picking up, scanning, gathering information about the world around us. They were better in the forest and they could survive there and they could find their way around, and they knew when danger was close and all these things because the hair was informing them about the world around them. Cut it off and they wouldn't, we can't rely on him no more once they cut their hair off, kind of thing, you know? And then I also find the example with psychic abilities, right? And just kind of walk with a sister on this right here too. Think about psychic abilities. Well, I guess let's start here. So it said that, well, we know that time does not exist. Cool, right? So the past, present, and future is all said to exist right now. And my mind is going to say that it exists right now in the ethos. Follow where I'm going here. It exists already in the ethos. And so if hair, as a form of spiritual insurance, we're talking about here, if hair is picking up and gathering information about the world around us, then if your hair is in tune, if your hair is really acting as and being the sensory tool that the Most High's Elohim universal creators created it to be, if your hair is strong and doing that thing, then it's obviously possible for you to pick up on information in the ethos that has not come to pass yet. This may come to you by way of a dream. It may come to you by way of, you just might be sitting at the light and, and you just might get you a little so-called vision. Like, that's so rare. Amen. You know what I'm saying? But it's very, you feel what I'm saying? That possibility may lie there due to the hair gathering the information about the world around us. And then that thing comes to pass and we're like, ooh, I saw that. I had a thought about that and now it's come to pass. Well, that's psychic ability, yeah? But, and this is the thing, like this is how I kind of broke it down to myself to kind of have a greater understanding of this. But this ain't like, again, this is not like an independent revelation or thought. The Honorable Rabbi Apostle Nyesom Amaru Bey has said many a days in many a ways that psychic abilities, if you got your hair covered up and you keep it in a bun and you start getting a little natty under there, then you will likely get those messages, because the hair is under there, it's stored up, it's doing its thing, it's greater energy, it's doing the thing it was designed to do. And all I'm saying is I see this as a form of spiritual insurance. This is a form of spiritual insurance. Well, then it's like, what is insurance? Plainly put, insurance is like a transferring of risk. You know what I'm saying? And so it's like, instead of just being out here on your own, having to walk around and guess and assume, and nah, the hair is taking some of that risk off of you and your person, and it's doing a job for us, and it's gathering information and informing us about the world around us. And so you got to think about it, even when it comes to danger. You know what I'm saying? Think about how many times some people have been like in a particular situation, and it's like all of a sudden I felt this great sensation to duck. And then they duck and something comes flying through the window right after. Because the hair picked up on the information around them, right? It's even some people that were like, I just woke up on June the 12th, 1958, and I felt a great calling to go buy a lottery ticket. And by 9 p.m. that night, they won $4 million. You know what I'm saying? Like that kind of thing. All I'm saying is that can very much be attributed to the hair doing its job and picking up on information in the ethos and relaying that through the hair follicles to the brain, to the spinal cord, from the spinal cord to your muscles and glands, and that's what makes you duck. That's what makes you get up out the bed and go buy that lottery ticket, and so on and so forth. Do you feel me? But then somebody may be like, no, Shanora, it says the hair is a sensory tool and it communicates with the body as it pertains to touch, not this stuff. And I'm like, cool. Touch, right? Well, that movie that, your favorite movie that you be crying at, it's because you touched, right? Like, didn't that movie, like, aren't we touched by movies without being touched physically? That song that you love, that you be crying to, that maybe you shouldn't even be crying to, maybe you don't feel like you should be crying to this song, but it makes you, it jerk a little tear up at you. You know what I'm saying? Because you're touched without being touched. You know what I'm saying? Hearing somebody's story about their life and how they overcame and what they had to do to overcome and how they persevered and ... That transformational, inspirational story, like, aren't we touched without being touched? Right? And where am I going with this is like a movie that can make us cry, a song or whatever, like, it's energy. Everything is energy. And so think about when it says like, oh, even the slightest breeze, a gentle breeze, the hair picks up on the gentle breeze. Well, what is a breeze? What is air? What is wind? We're back at energy, right? So it's just like, how do I want to go with this? Like, the hair is communicating with the body as it relates to touch, but it doesn't have to be a physical touch. It can be an energetic touch. Every time we are around people there is a touching going on. You know what I'm saying? Which is why you got to stay protected. Like the energies are touching and communicating and etc. Right? But let's say I'm in my house and me and my mama, we're going to the farmer's market today. Let's just say maybe she's coming up the stairs to meet me, or maybe she's just gonna pull up outside to pick me up. But if I just very casually and naturally walked to the door and we happen to meet at the door at the same time, did my hair pick up on her presence and tell me to go outside? Probably. You see what I'm saying? Probably. I ordered Amazon delivery groceries last night. Okay? And I am someone like, I don't be like looking out the window and stuff at nighttime. I'm in my house. Like me in the nighttime, we don't really just know each other like that. I don't be outside at night, you know. But number one, I was in my living room. I don't know what I was doing, but I don't be in the blinds and I don't be in the, not at nighttime, you know. But last night, I felt called to go look out the blinds. And sure enough, when I look out the blinds, while I'm waiting for my grocery delivery, I see an Amazon person in the back of their car, a woman and child, and they're taking groceries out the car. And I'm like, I bet you them my groceries right there. So I go onto my balcony, which I don't often do at nighttime. And I was like, hey, are you looking for apartment, bop, 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 bop? And they was like, yeah. I'm like, bet, I'm a bit. You know what I'm saying? And so when I came in the house, I thought that was so funny because I knew I was going to record this video today. And I was like, that's that stuff right there. That's the hair scanning and picking up and gathering information and informing me about the world around me. And so I look at this, or this can be seen as a form of spiritual insurance. Whether there is potential danger nearby, or whether you just need to be alerted by a presence, or whatever it may be, it doesn't have to be a bad thing. We have insurance on our cars and our homes and etc. Not because something is bad today, but just in case. You know what I'm saying? And so it's like, I mean, I guess I'm just saying, if you want your hair, if you want to stay spiritually insured, if you want to transfer some potential risk, if you want to have your hair be the spiritual and sensory tool that the Most High Elohim Universal Creators created it to be, keeping it covered up, keeping your turban, keeping your head wrap and your shawls on, it's only going to create about a greater output of what the hair is able to do as far as being our form of spiritual insurance. If you want to stay informed, you know what I'm saying? If you want some of them psychic abilities, you know? I mean, I look at it as it's just a way to like, I feel very much sometimes ahead of the curve because of the information that I'm able to receive by way of my spirituality. And that's where I will leave you folks. I greatly appreciate you for being here. If you learned something, if you like it, comment that little emoji with the turban or holler at a sister down below. But yeah, 13 love. Okay, bye.